Hi everybody, I'm Kurt, owner of Extreme Audio in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Today we're going to be working on a 98-13 Street Glide. We're going to show you how to put the speakers in, how to cut the lid kits in, run the power wire, everything in between. I'm going to have one of my techs, Ace, help us today.
Hi, I'm Ace.
All right, we're going to get started. First thing you want to do before you take your fairing off is we want to protect the fender. We're going to put a Harley-Davidson fender cover on. That's going to prevent any scratches or anything falling on it. It's going to protect the fender. Next, we're going to remove the 7 screws on the fairing. There's 3 across the windshield, 2 back here, and 2 down low. I'm going to turn it over to Ace and he'll tell you exactly what he's doing and the tools that he's using.
So I'm going to use my DeWalt drill, impact drill. We got a T25 bit on here. As I remove the fairing, I'm going to leave the middle screw of our fairing here, which holds our windshield in, for last. That'll enable me to take the fairing off if I'm by myself. So I'm going to start with these first 2 here on the outside. It's a little easier to access the screws of the fairing if you turn the bike handlebars one way to access the appropriate side. And the one that is down here is a little trickier to get at. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of move things out of the way so you can see where it is. It's way down inside the fork here. I'm going to turn the bike handlebars back straight. I'm just going to kind of straddle myself over the front wheel. Remove that last screw. So I'm going to take the windshield out and I'm going to put it underneath my arm, kind of like a chicken wing move. And then I'm going to tip the fairing out to where I can access how the headlight is plugged in. And I'll squeeze on each side and pull it off and it should disconnect. And then I'll take and set my fairing out of the way. I usually set my windshield right next to it so I don't forget.
All right, next we're going to take off the gas tank and the seat. We're going to remove that so we can run the power wire underneath the tank into the fairing.
With the seat here, there's a screw at the very back of the seat. There's a strap that's going over the top of our seat as well. So one side will have a Phillips headed screw on it as well, so I'll have to take that off and then the seat will slip out. And to access this screw here, I got to lift the lid cover out of the way. So then you just pull the strap out of that little slot there, throw it over the top. I typically put my hand over the top of this hard metal piece just to protect the paint so I don't damage anything, the seat or the paint on the bike. Wiggle it back a little bit, and depending on what style of seat you have, it'll have a slot or a metal post that sticks out that will either go into the slot, or this one has the slot on the seat itself. So I'm gonna take the tank off. There's 4 screws, and then I gotta pull this tube out, disconnect this, undo this harness, the fuel petcock on this side will drop down, and then I should be able to take the tank off. So this one here just has a little black tab, pull it loose, and disconnect that one there like that. I'm just gonna pull it out. So now I'm going to take the hardware off and then take the tank off. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take these off back here. So sometimes it'll have some like weatherproof tape that'll go around here, or zip ties or whatever. You'll have to cut those back, and then that'll give you the ability to lift this up and over. Take these lines and just wiggle them out of the way. And that'll let you open up this cover. There you go. Once you get all those loose, you want to make sure you have enough to get over to our amp. So basically you want to take and put this guy inside this channel here as best as we can fit it in. Make sure we don't pinch any of our wires as we are going to put the cover back on. We want to leave enough on this side, obviously, that we can reach our terminals here and down there. And then also fit whatever we have extra in all of this. And once you have it all in there, now you can put your cover back on, it'll hold it in place. It doesn't necessarily have to start particularly anywhere. Pick a spot and start working it into place. And attach it back to the clips that you unclipped it from on the way out. Also make sure you don't pinch any wires in along here too. And then we have to route these back into where they came out. So I'm going to turn the handlebars so you can kind of see that, oh yeah, I'm going to open up some access for me to get this through there. And this gives me the room to get through there.
Now we're going to install the SS speakers in the fairing.
So we're going to put in the SS65s. That's going to require us to install a separate tweeter, and that's going to go into these grills here. And it's going to have a few pieces to make that happen. So we have the grill, the tweeter itself, a little backing piece, and then our 4 screws to hold it in place. We're going to take and put our tweeter into the opening. Which can be a little tricky because it is magnetized. I want to try to make sure that my logo is at the top or somewhere in between one of these so that we can put it in straight. Then this piece is going to go on behind. I'm going to put the flat side in towards the speaker itself. Line it up like this. And then I'm just going to look through the openings here to find my pre-drilled spots back here and get one started, and then kind of work its way in to finishing out the rest of them. All right, down to the last one. I want to make sure it's all snugged up on all of them. Everything nice and tight, ready for install. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put in our SS65 tweeters. So that requires us to put them in with a spacer ring. So we're going to put our grills that we've made with the tweeter housing into the opening there, and then put our spacer ring behind it. I typically get started with making sure that the speaker's facing the right way. And I put my ring on behind it, and I'm going to take one of the longer pieces of hardware I have and just put it through this top corner one and put it through the hole of the grill on the other side so I can kind of get it started and line it up. Put this in place right here. I'm going to visually Make sure that it lands in the right little plastic collar up top here. I'm gonna snug this up just a little bit. You can kind of visually watch that one as well. I'd leave both of those loose and finish off with the shorter one down here. Nice and snug, not over tightened on that bottom one, and you can strip it out. Now that I got that one done, snug these up. And now we are ready for our SS65 speaker. All right, we're gonna put in our SS65 speaker. That's gonna require us to add in some terminals to attach them to. So in your box, you'll find these here, 2 fork spades with 2 regular male spades on the other side. We're gonna hook them up to the corresponding spots. Obviously the red one is gonna go on the positive side and the negative one will go on the negative side. So you're just gonna back these off just a little bit just to sneak those forks in. Nice and tight. Just make sure that they don't yank off, give them a little test. So before we put our speaker on, we need to connect the crossover lead to our tweeter. We're gonna make sure that we hook them up to the corresponding posts. So there'll be one that will have a red dot, one that will not. The one with the red dot you connect the red wire to, and the black one will go on the other side. And you're gonna wanna make sure that your leads stick out, and they'll kind of just get pinched in between the speaker and this ring here as you put your speaker in, and then that'll leave you the room to plug it in to the amp side. Okay, we're gonna put our SS65 speaker onto the bike. We'll take 4 screws. You can take and dry fit it into the position that you want it. Make sure everything lines up and you have 4 holes to use on your ring. I would make sure that you keep your speaker terminals facing towards the inside of the bike, not pointing down or up. If you're pointing up, they can get in the way of the fairing. If you point them down, they can sometimes short out on this fairing brace here. So when I put my speakers in, I usually have my terminals facing inwards towards the bike. And I'm gonna take one of the screws and just get it started so I can kind of use both my hands to put the rest of it together. And then leave it loose just a bit so that you can adjust the speaker as necessary. So when we put this last one in, I want to make sure that I get this brace back in place. So it's got to go through this slotted part of the end of the brace and then also into the speaker bracket. And then you tighten it down, and that'll make sure everything is nice and secure. It's not flopping around. Then I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the rest of my screws. And then connect my speaker. Sometimes these connections can be a little loose. You can take a pliers, needle nose, wire stripper, whatever you got, something that's got a little end on it, and just give them a little pinch. And that'll help make sure that they are secure when you connect them.
Now we're gonna cut in our lid kit. I'm gonna have my son Cameron help us, who's 17 years old. He's been working on Harley since he was 14. I took him to a rally. He cut in all the lid kits. It's really not that hard, and he's gonna walk you through how easy it is.
So the first thing we're gonna do is open up the bag, and we're gonna wanna take out the T20 bit at the front of the bag. That way we get this out of the way, tighten this down, so it stays, so we don't accidentally cut this with our jigsaw. All right, now we have our cutting template, which we're just gonna put right on, line it up, and then we take our masking tape, which we're gonna use to protect the paint. We're just gonna make a little line here. We're gonna take the template off, add some extra protection onto the lid. Now we're gonna take our template, put it back on, and we're actually gonna reuse the plastic to protect the paint. Then we just take a razor blade, just like this, and cut right along the middle. Just like that. Now that our paint is protected, we're gonna take one of these screws, put it in one of these template holes, and making sure to push against it to make sure the template's in place. We're just gonna drill it in, just like that. And then we take another one and do the same thing. Just like that. Okay, now we're gonna mask more areas off. Just protecting that paint. Just like that. It does not have to look pretty. Now that we have the tape down, we're gonna start our guide hose for the jigsaw. Now that we made our guide holes, it's time to use the jigsaw. Just like that. Now we take off the tape and vacuum it up. Now that we're done cutting, we're going to install the grill. We recommend that you use a screwdriver for the screws so you don't strip them. Now that our grill is installed, we're going to drill a hole for the speaker wire. So you're going to go 3 inches below. Now we're going to take the bag off to prepare to run the wire. Now with the bag, we have to take the side panel off. Comes off in 3 pegs, just like that. We're gonna run the speaker wire underneath this bar, and we don't need a lot of room because we do not want it rubbing on the tire. So this should be good. Now that we have it ran under the bar, we're gonna put the side cover back on. Now we're gonna put the bag back on, making sure that no slack will hit the tire. And we pull the grommet right through. Just like that. Pull the slack above the seat. And put the bag back on. Now we're going to zip tie the remaining slack so it's easier to tuck. Now we're gonna clean the area off with rubbing alcohol. Now we're gonna plug in our tail to the speaker wire. And we're gonna take one of these sticky pads, peel a corner. We got it, we're gonna put one down here. Grab a zip tie. Now we're gonna thread the zip tie through, making sure to zip tie after the quick disconnects. After, not before. Now we're gonna grab another one and do the same thing. Grabbing your zip tie, threading it through. And the final step, we're just gonna cut it and make it look good. Now we're going to install our tweeter and speaker. Now we put on the terminals. And lastly, the crossover. Now we're going to zip tie the crossover. Now we tuck the crossover behind this. Now we put the T20 back in.
Okay, now we're ready to put our amp in place. We're going to put it in this location right here. I'm going to try to get it tucked up underneath these wires as best I can, like this. So it'll look like this when I'm all finished. I'm going to use these two pieces of Velcro to put it in place, one male side, one female side. And it doesn't really matter which one you put which. You take the backing off of your Velcro on one side. I'm going to put it right here. Do the opposite to the underside of the amp. And just find somewhere in the middle there, aim and put that down. And just as I said I was going to, I'm going to take and put it right underneath here. You might have to fight the Velcro a touch to get it in place. Wiggle it in there as tight as you can get it. Stick it down and make sure it's good. So now we're going to go ahead and put our amp connections together. I'm going to go and start with these tweeter leads and put these crossovers in line so that they're ready to go when I'm ready to clip everything into our harness. So we're going to remove the factory harness. And we're We're going to plug it into our amp harness. I'm going to put this one on here. So we have this one from our factory side into our amp harness, and then our amp harness going into the radio itself. And we're going to go to our amp. We have right, left, numbers 1 and 2. We're going to find those on our amp, in 1 and 2. I'm going to pull those collars off of there and plug them into the corresponding RCA ports. Make sure those seat all the way down. Then we're going to plug in our amp harness into the amp itself. It's going to have 2 little clips, one on each side. It will clip onto the amp itself. There's only one way that it will go. And I usually try to take and look at the wires and make sure that they line up. So I usually go with the purple, so I have purple and purple, and push them together. And make sure it sits down and seats. Make sure these clip over so it's nice and tight. Do the same with our power. Has the same style of clip. 2 clips on each side, 2 on here. Make sure the wires match up. Put it together. Make sure it clips. And we have our remote turn on, so it'll tell our amp when to turn on. So that's here. And we're going to use the lead that comes off of your headlight. And here it's going to be an orange one. Then you have a little pigtail in your kit. It'll look like this. Put the spaded end on this side, and then the bullet connector will go into your amp. That should be all of your amp connections except for one left for your tweeters, which we started with. So I'm just going to find that end. Find the output side of my amp harness. I'm going to plug that into the white gray, which would indicate my front inputs, outputs. Let's go right in here. So after we've made these connections, we're going to take and cut these off. Same with this one. And there'll be some shrink wrap material, heat shrink material. And I have a torch. And you can use whatever heat source you want, heat gun or a lighter or whatever you want. And I'm just going to heat shrink these on here. And that'll help ensure that these don't come loose. So we have zip tied up all of our loose wires. We're going to put the fairing back in place. I want to make sure that I don't have anything blocking these 2 points down here, because those can be tricky when we're putting it back together. So the first thing I got to do is make sure I hook our headlight back up. Okay, and then I'm going to use the 3 collared screws to put the front part of the fairing back on where the windshield goes. So I've got the headlight hooked up. I'm going to kind of get it into place. Line up those 3 on the top, and I'm going to grab my windshield, lean the fairing out so I can wiggle it into the spot it's supposed to go. And the same way I took it apart, I'm going to put it back together. I'm going to start with this one right here in the middle. And if you have it on there right and close enough, you should be able to tighten it up even with just a few finger turns. And now I know that the fairing windshield will stay in place while I'm working, and I can let go of it. And then put these 2 on the side. And again, I'm going to leave everything loose until I have all the screws in place so that I can maneuver the fairing to get it in the right position if I need to. So just like we did on removal, we're going to take and turn the handlebars away from the area that we are working so we have the most room.